Okay, so we're going to machine operation for 1 first. So let's go to manufacturer mode, and we're going to go and we're going to look at our models, and we want to make the second instance of the vise and the soft jaws invisible and make the first instance of visible. Flip our part back around. We're going to show our stock body, which we may have hid in the previous step. And we're going to make our setup. First setup. Right click, we're going to create a new setup. And again, it defaults to taking everything. That's not what we want. So we're going to go to selecting our model, which in this case is going to be the actual part on the bodies. And then we're going to go to stock, and instead of relative size box, we're going to go from solid. And the solid we're going to select is the stock that we modeled. Should be 4 inches by 1 inches by 2 inches. Now we're going to go to the post processor, and we're going to call this 306-1 part. So it'll be 306-1, and we're doing op 1. Our program comment is going to be op 1. And I'm going to put in a note, hard jaws, with 1-5/8 parallels. Okay, so hopefully that all fit in the notes. Makes that clear. We're going to use works offset 1. Okay, we're going to go back to the first tab, which is the setup, and we're going to select our origin. So we're going to go to z-axis plane and x-axis. We're going to select the stock, which will give us the z pointing in the right place. Okay, we're going to put our origin at a stock box point. It's going to be top left corner. Now we're going to select OK. We're going to change our setup to op 1. Okay, so now let's make our stock volume invisible. Since it's defined, you'll still see it when you have the operation highlighted. And let's start machining here. Okay, for our first operation, we're going to mill down the face of this. We're just going to use our trusty face mill. We're going to do a facing operation. We're going to select from our tool library, tool 1, our 3-inch face mill. For geometry, the default boundary that's defined by the stock. We're going to go to heights, and we're going to leave most of this at default, and we're going to cut to model top. That's our bottom, so we're going to start at stock top and cut down to model bottom. That's our model top. Okay, so you should look something like that. That's default. I do want to say, if you don't already default to 3000 RPM, let's bump this RPM up to 3000. We're getting a better finish. If it already defaults to 3000, then I've fixed it in our tool library. Okay, we're going to go to heights, leave those at default again. We're going to go to passes. You can choose the pass direction. We may just take the default. Our pass extension right now is 1.5 inches. Some of our stock is coming in a little bit longer than it should be. So let's bump this up to our extension to be 1.75. So it gives us an extra 1/4 inch of extension. And our step over, I believe we can leave it default. We're not going to do multiple depths. We're only taking 30 thou off. And let's go to the linking tab. We're going to do a lead in entry. Our vertical lead in radius is going to be 0. And we're going to do a lead in and lead out. Is that okay? So you just get one pass. Comes in off the workpiece, goes across. Alright, next. Let's work from the top down. So our next feature is this pocket here. We're going to go to 2D. We're going to do a 2D pocket, and we're going to select our 1/4 inch end mill from our library. And what we're doing is we're just going to cut the flat here, and we're going to come back with a ball cutter and trace around the outside to make the fillet. This was intentionally redesigned to have a 1/4 inch end mill be able to go in this corner. If we change that design and add a tool to the library, maybe we can make that smaller and sharper like the original design. But we're going to get a pattern here in the center. All right, so our heights tab, we're only going a 1/16 deep. So I don't think we have a lot of depth to go. We're going to go from model top instead of stock top for both of these selections. We've already removed 30 thou. And we're going to go to the selected contour. Now we're going to go to the passes tab. And let's go over our options. We are going to use morph spiral. Okay, that will give us a more efficient cut. We will do multiple depths just because we want to do a finish pass on the bottom, and that's a nice clean step over there. And our maximum step down that can be, let's set that at 100 thousandths. And our finishing step down, we can leave it at 8 thousandths. We're going to use even step downs, go order by depth. On sides, for what we're doing here, I don't know if we really need finish passes on the sides, so we're just going to leave that alone. We do not want to leave stock to leave. I'm in the habit of zeroing these out before I deselect this box, as at one time there was error in Fusion where even if you deselected it, it kept those values. Okay, we're going to go to the linking tab. We'll leave most of this at default. We'll leave our horizontal lead-in radius. Our linear lead-in distance is fine. We're going to put 0 on our vertical lead-in radius. Okay, ramp type. We don't have a lot of room within this part. We'll try a helix. If it doesn't work, we're going to do a straight plunge. We do want to set our ramp clearance height to be a little lower. 100 thousandths is a long time to spiral down, so we'll go to 50 and we'll hit OK. All right, so we get our helical ramp in. It's going to come in and it's going to do our cuts. Okay, so that's our pocket. We're going to do the ball cutter on the outside. So to do that, we're going to use the trace command, and we're going to select our 1/8 inch ball from our library. Okay, we're going to leave everything at default on its feeds and speeds. On geometry, we're going to select the chain of the tangency of where the ball touches the floor. And in our heights tab, we're going to go from stock top on both. We're going to go to model top on both. And then we're going to go to our passes tab, and we're going on center, and we're going to select this multiple depths tab. Our maximum step down right now is set at 40 thousandths. Our pocket is only 63 thousandths or 70 thousandths deep, so we want to go a little bit less than that. Let's go 20, because we're going to have half the diameter of the cutter engaging at any given time. We're going to do 4 step downs, maximum of 20 thousandths, and that'll get us to the floor. Okay, we're going to go to the linking tab. And for this, you typically don't want to lead in and a lead out. And let's hit OK. So you're going to get 4 passes going around at least. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passes. And it's going to go around and make our cut. Okay, so we're done with this feature here. Now let's move on to what is our next feature we can cut. So the next flat plane would be the tops of these 2 wings of the hammerhead, if you will. And we're going to come in. So we're going to use a 2D contour. We're going to go back to our 1/4 inch end mill, which we want to look at the tools we're using and in what order they go in. After this, we may want to rearrange the order so we have less tool changes. But we selected our tool under geometry. We want a chain that includes this edge, offsets to the left, but we want an open chain. And we want that open chain to include the area of this fillet. Alright. So that's our first chain. We're going to go over to the other side and do the same thing. So on an open chain, we want to start and cut all the way across. And we're going to hit OK. Okay, so that gives us, we want to make sure the arrow is definitely on the outside. And then we're going to go to the Heights tab. And we're going to go from Model Top. And our retract's going to come from Model Top. And we don't want to go select the contours because it's going to set the depth at the bottom of this first element we selected. So we're going to go to Selection and we're going to pick on the face of the tap just to make sure that the height's set at the correct level. Otherwise you're going to cut the material that your chamfer's on off. Alright, and then we're going to go to Passes and we're going to go to Wear Compensation. We're going to leave all that at default. We're only taking 100 thousandths off. So we're going to do a rough pass. Our maximum step over can leave the same. Smoothing deviation 0.04. But our step over 25 thousandths is fine. So that's going to do one rough cut and one finish cut. And then we will do multiple depths even though we're taking 100 thou off. We're just going to do this in so that we have a slight finish cut at 8 thousandths. Gives us a little bit better finish when the cutter is not under load. I believe this cutter is wide enough to clean up the entire top. We will see. And we're going to go to the linking tab. We're going to leave the horizontal lead-in radius or sweep angle at 90, I guess is okay. We actually might want to consider changing that to 30. And we're going to have no vertical lead-in radius as usual. And let's hit OK and see how we get. Okay, so we get a 30-degree lead-in radius, a little bit of shallower angle instead of 90, comes in and cuts our pockets. And it looks like it did full cleanup on the top. What do we do next? So we've cut this pocket, we cut that. Our next deepest thing is going to be this because it floors out at where the tab is. So let's go in with the 1/4 inch end mill and just stay consistent. It should leave the fillets in these corners the right size. So we're going to go 2D pocket. Okay, on the geometry tab, we're going to pull down and we're going to pick this silhouette routine. And what we're going to do is we're going to end up cutting these two pockets all the way through. So we don't want to machine the outside boundary. We're going to go from select to for outer loops or inner loops. So we're going to select inner loops. It's only going to cut within the blue boundary on the left and the blue boundary on the right. Okay, we're going to hit OK. Then we're going to go to heights and we're going to start at model top on both of those. And our bottom reference will be not selection, but the lowest of selected, which is going to be model bottom. We're going to cut all the way through, and we want to do a negative offset of 10 thousandths so that we make sure we don't have any flash when we cut off the other side. It'll compensate for any tool setting differences. So we go to the linking tab. We're going to change our maximum step over, should be at 150 thousandths. We're going to check more spiral. We're going to go to multiple depths. Our maximum step down is going to be 1/4 of an inch. We're going to do one finishing step down at 8 thousandths. We're going to do even step downs. We want to include a finish step. So we're going to go to wear compensation, and we're going to do one finishing pass, and we're going to set that at 10 thousandths. If we go up, we want to make sure that we have the finish at final depths box checked. We have enough flute length to do that with this cutter. Okay, we're going to go to our last tab. We're going to keep the tool down. We're going to keep our lead-in radiuses and our lead-in. We're going to get rid of our vertical lead-in radius. And our plunge types is going to be just plunge. It defaults to helix, but we're going to change that to plunge. And we're going to change our clearance from 100 to 50 thousandths for plunge clearance. And then we're going to hit OK. And it should machine out both of this round feature and pocket down the center based off silhouette. Okay, now we have this other piece of geometry here, which is a tooth here that still should be there, that we need to mill out above it. So our next operation is going to mill this face down. So we're going to go to 2D, we're going to do a contour. And it's important we do this in the same setup with the same cutter diameter so that we don't get cutter mismatch. Okay, so we've got our 1/4 inch flat selected. We're going to go to geometry, and we're going to select the little segment here for the profile. And then we're going to go to the heights tab, and we're going to go from model top on our retracts. And we're going to cut down to the selected contour, which is fine. We're going to go to passes, and we're going to go to wear compensation. We are going to do roughing passes, and that allows the step over box to appear up on the top. So let's change that to 10,000 so we're consistent with the other things we're machining. Our maximum step over, we're only going to do one, so it's kind of academic. This is already cleared out. We're going to do one step over. Our smoothing deviation is going to go up to 4/10. We are going to do multiple depths. Our maximum step down is going to be 0.25. We're going to have one finishing step down at the bottom as a spring pass. 8 thousandths is fine. And we're going to finish only at final depths. And the rest of this, we're going to use even step downs. We're going to go over to the linking tab. We'll leave our horizontal lead-in radius the same. Our lead-in radius at 90, I'm going to change that to 30. That way we're not coming 90 degrees to this arc. We're going to come in at a slightly more tapered angle. And we're going to get rid of our vertical lead-in radius. It's going to be 0. And we don't need a ramp. So we're going to hit OK. So we get our one rough cut and our two finish cuts. That finishes off the shelf here. All right. Now our last little bit on this side before we start chamfering is going to be to remove all the material around the outside. So I'm going to use adaptive clearing mainly just to clear out all the stock volume that's around the outside of this thing. I could have debated, I could have done that in the beginning and maybe cleaned all this stuff off. But the efficiency we're looking for is just cutting out, removing all the material around that exterior. So we're going to go to 2D, adaptive clearing. We're actually going to select from the aluminum library our 1/2 inch end mill. We're going to go with a bigger end mill. And I'm going to change where this goes in sequence and move it to the top. Okay, so 5,000 RPM. We're going to geometry. We're going to select off silhouette. And we're only going to do outside loops. We're only doing the exterior with this. And we're going to go to heights. Again, we're going to go to model top, so stock on these. Now, the depth we're going to go to is going to be the lowest of selected, which is going to be model bottom, and we're going to go -10 thou on that as well. And our passes, we're going to leave all of this at default. We are going to leave 20 thousandths radially, but axially, I think we can set that at 0. We want it to go to the proper depth. We're going to go to the linking tab, and we're going to leave most of this at default. No vertical lead-in radius. Ramp type, we can go to just straight plunge, and let's hit OK and see what we get. Alright, so our 1/2 inch end mill clears away all the material that might be left behind that would interfere with this plugging into our soft jaw. Now, before I forget, let's move this in sequence to occur right after the facing operation. So we're going to go facing, we're going to do our adaptive around the exterior, then we'll do our pocket, then we'll do our trace, then we'll do our contours on the outside, and we'll do the pockets on the interior and the contour on the interior. So I apologize for not doing that in order, a little oversight. So now we're going to stick with this 1/4 inch end mill. We're going to do profiles around the outside edges, and that will give us our finished shape for the exterior.